Nikola was supposed to be the future of trucking, a company that promised hydrogen-powered semi-trucks, zero emissions, revolutionary technology, a new kind of transportation empire. At one point, investors believed the dream so much that Nikola became worth around $27 billion. For a moment, this electric truck startup was valued higher than Ford. But behind the hype, something was wrong. The truck that looked like it was driving through the desert, investigators later said it was not moving under its own power. It was rolling downhill. The founder, Trevor Milton, was later convicted of fraud, sentenced to 4 years in prison, and accused of misleading investors about the company's technology. Then, in 2025, Nikola filed for bankruptcy. A company once worth billions was suddenly worth less than $50 million. So this is not just a story about electric trucks. It is a story about hype, investors, a fake future, a founder who sold a dream, and a company that went from being called the next Tesla to ending in bankruptcy. The question is, how did a truck company with no finished commercial product become worth $27 billion? Before we go further, let's be clear. This story is not saying every electric vehicle company is fake. It is not saying hydrogen trucks can never work. And it is not saying Nikola never built anything real. After Trevor Milton left, Nikola did continue trying to build and deliver battery electric and hydrogen trucks. But the story that made Nikola famous was built during the hype years. The years when investors were told the company had technology, products, reservations, hydrogen plans, and working prototypes that prosecutors later said were exaggerated, misleading, or false. The US Department of Justice said Trevor Milton misled investors about Nikola's products and technology. The SEC said Nikola agreed to pay $125 million to settle fraud charges without admitting or denying the SEC's findings. And in 2025, after years of scandals, cash burn, and failed momentum, Nikola filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That is what we are looking at. Not just a failed company, a company where the dream became more powerful than the product. Nikola was founded in 2015 by Trevor Milton. Even the name was designed to invite comparison. Tesla was named after Nikola Tesla, so Milton named his truck company Nikola. From the beginning, the message was clear. If Tesla was going to change cars, Nikola was going to change trucks. The idea sounded massive. Instead of diesel trucks burning fuel across highways, Nikola would build clean, futuristic semi-trucks powered by batteries and hydrogen. These were not supposed to be small delivery vans. They were big trucks, the kind that move freight across countries, the kind of industry where one breakthrough could be worth billions. And that is why investors paid attention. Because if Nikola could actually solve clean, long-haul trucking, the upside was enormous. The company was not selling just a truck. It was selling a future where highways were cleaner, logistics companies saved money, hydrogen stations appeared across America, and Nikola became the name behind the next transportation revolution. That was the dream. And for a while, the dream worked. The hype around Nikola grew fast. Trevor Milton was not a quiet founder. He used interviews, social media, public statements, and bold claims to make Nikola feel bigger than a normal startup. He talked about trucks, hydrogen, battery technology, factory plans, reservations, partnerships, production timelines. And during the 2020 EV boom, this was exactly the kind of story the market wanted. Investors were looking for the next Tesla. Every company with an electric vehicle story suddenly looked like it could become the future. And Nikola had one of the biggest stories of all. A futuristic semi-truck company, a charismatic founder, a massive market, a clean energy mission, and a stock that started flying. In 2020, Nikola went public through a SPAC deal. A SPAC allowed the company to reach the public market faster than a traditional IPO. And once retail investors could buy the stock, the hype became even stronger. Nikola was no longer just a truck company. It became a stock market phenomenon. The company's market value exploded. At its peak, Reuters reported that Nikola reached a market capitalization of about $27 billion, more than Ford at the time. Think about that. Ford had been building vehicles for more than a century. Nikola had not yet delivered a single commercial truck to customers. But for a moment, the market treated Nikola like it was already a giant.
Then came the image that would define the scandal. A Nikola truck moving down a road in the desert. The video was called Nikola One in motion. To a normal viewer, it looked simple. A futuristic truck was driving. The company had a working prototype. The dream was real. But in 2020, short seller Hindenburg Research published a report accusing Nikola of deception. The most famous allegation was about that truck video. Hindenburg said the truck was not driving under its own power. It said the truck had been towed to the top of a hill, then filmed rolling down. Nikola pushed back against Hindenburg's report and said it had never claimed in the video that the truck was moving under its own propulsion. But that explanation only made the story more famous. Because to many people, the question became simple. If your truck works, why would the most famous video of it involve a hill? That one visual turned Nikola into a symbol of startup hype, a symbol of market mania, a symbol of how a company could sell motion, even when the machine itself was not truly moving the way people thought. But the rolling truck video was only one part of the story. The U.S. Department of Justice later said Trevor Milton made false and misleading statements about many parts of Nikola's business. Prosecutors said he misled investors about the development of Nikola's products and technology. This included claims about the company's semi-truck prototype, the Badger pickup truck, hydrogen production, batteries, and reservations. The SEC also said Nikola misled investors about products, technical achievements, and business prospects. The problem was not just one video. The problem was the gap between what investors thought Nikola had and what Nikola actually had. And that gap mattered because Nikola was not just raising attention, it was raising money. The stock price mattered. Investor demand mattered. Public belief mattered. Every bold claim helped build the story. And every part of that story helped make the company look more valuable. This is where the Nikola case becomes bigger than just electric trucks. It becomes a story about financial storytelling. Because in the stock market, a powerful story can become money. If enough people believe the future is coming, the stock can rise before the product is proven. And that is exactly what made Nikola dangerous. The dream was worth billions before the reality caught up.
In September 2020, after the Hindenburg report, the pressure exploded. The company's credibility was suddenly under attack. Investors started asking harder questions. Journalists started digging. Regulators started paying attention. And Trevor Milton eventually resigned as executive chairman. That resignation did not end the story. It only marked the beginning of the legal storm. In 2021, the DOJ charged Milton with securities fraud and wire fraud. The government said he made false and misleading statements to drive investor demand in Nikola stock. In 2022, he was convicted. And in December 2023, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The DOJ described it as a scheme to defraud and mislead investors about the company's products and technology. Nikola, the company, separately agreed in 2021 to pay a $125 million penalty to settle SEC fraud charges without admitting or denying the findings. The hype had become a court case. The pitch had become evidence. And the founder, who once sold the future of trucking, was now facing prison time.
But here is where the story becomes more complicated. Nikola did not immediately disappear after Trevor Milton left. The company tried to separate itself from him. New leadership came in. The company focused on actual trucks.
It worked on battery electric vehicles. It worked on hydrogen fuel cell trucks. It tried to build infrastructure, raise money, and prove that Nikola could survive without the founder who created the scandal. And to be fair, Nikola did eventually produce and deliver some trucks. So this is not a story where absolutely nothing existed. The problem was that the company was already damaged. The trust was damaged. The stock was damaged. The EV market became harder. Interest rates rose. Capital became more expensive. Demand was not strong enough. And Reuters reported that Nikola was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on every vehicle sold. That is a brutal business model. You can have a real product and still fail if every sale burns cash. So even after the scandal, Nikola still had to face the hard part, actually building a sustainable truck business. And that proved much harder than selling the dream. In February 2025, Nikola filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company said it would pursue a sale process and had about $47 million in cash on hand to fund the bankruptcy process. Reuters reported that the company's market value had fallen below $50 million. That is the most shocking part of the collapse. From around $27 billion to less than $50 million. From a company that looked like it could challenge the future of trucking to a company selling assets in bankruptcy court. Lucid later announced that it had agreed to acquire select Nikola facilities and assets after Nikola's bankruptcy auction. So the dream did not end with a grand factory launch. It ended in legal filings, asset sales, and bankruptcy proceedings. Then came one final twist. In March 2025, Reuters and AP reported that President Donald Trump granted Trevor Milton a full pardon. Milton had been convicted and sentenced, but the pardon changed the legal consequences he faced. AP reported that the pardon could wipe out hundreds of millions of dollars in restitution prosecutors were seeking for defrauded investors. Then, later in 2025, the SEC moved to dismiss its civil case against Milton. So the founder's personal legal story took another turn. But for Nikola as a company, the damage was already done. The brand was damaged. The stock had collapsed. The company had gone bankrupt. And investors who believed in the hype had already watched billions in market value disappear. The Nikola story is not just about one founder. It is about what happens when a market wants to believe too badly. Investors wanted the next Tesla. The media wanted the next transportation revolution. Retail traders wanted the next stock that could change their lives. And Nikola gave everyone a story they wanted to hear. Clean trucks, hydrogen highways, futuristic factories, a founder with confidence, a stock that could only go up. But a story is not a product. A prototype is not a business. A reservation is not revenue. A video is not proof. And a valuation is not reality. That is the real lesson. In a hype market, the future can be sold before it exists. And sometimes, by the time people realize the future was exaggerated, the money is already gone. Nikola was supposed to move freight into a cleaner future. Instead, its most famous image became a truck rolling down a hill. Nikola's collapse is one of the clearest examples of riches and ruin. A huge promise, a charismatic founder, a booming market, a $27 billion valuation, a fraud conviction, a presidential pardon, and finally, bankruptcy. The company was named after Nikola Tesla. It wanted to become the future of trucking. But the story people remember is not a breakthrough vehicle. It is a question. Was the truck really driving? Or was the whole dream just rolling downhill?